Hi everyone, Angus Campbell here, Sunday the 27th of March 2021. So as you can see, I've been putting the jigsaw puzzle pieces together before we start the build-up of the barrels and top end of the Rocket 3. But I just wanted to do a short video on this occasion to focus on something that I've been prevaricating about actually. And that is cam followers and tappet blocks. And what kicked this all off is when I was replacing or inspecting these prior to replacing them, you notice there's oil holes. So, oh sorry, I'm shaking a little bit, there we go. It's the drugs, but I am feeling a lot better. So I thought I'd do a bit of investigating, try and understand what that's all about, because there's quite a lot of information and discussion on forums as to whether or not the cam followers need to be replaced a certain way round. They should go back into their original positions, if at all possible. But the thing is, with respect to that oil hole on one side only, should they go back a certain way round? So let me just take a few minutes to let you know what I found out, which was news to me. The main reason being that the mechanism by which these are lubricated effectively was changed over the life of the Trident and Rocket 3. Right, let's do a bit of reading and research. So firstly, I've got an original Rocket 3 workshop manual. Now this is from 69 or 70. I'm not aware of a later revision of this manual with the 1971 striped branding on the front, a bit like the parts book, all this stripy sort of marketing. But if anybody does know of an updated manual for 71, 72, then let me know. But anyway, so this is an early manual, bear that in mind. And this contains a nice diagram showing the lubrication system. And it quite clearly shows, and is labelled up in fact, timed pressure feed to all tappets and cams. So from the central main bearings, there's a feed up to the exhaust tappet blocks, and then across to the inlet tappet blocks. And if we look then at the parts book, which is a 71, then let's get the light right, sorry. We can clearly see that just here there's a pipe that goes up to the cylinder barrel, well, the crankcase cylinder barrel flange, and that's a timed feed. So not under pressure all the time, but obviously spitting, if you like, I suppose, when certain oil holes line up during the rotation of the crank within the bearing block. Now, bearing that in mind, let's go back into the garage then and have a look at my engine. So let's go back to the barrel and crankcase flanges to see evidence of any drillings. So firstly, within the tappet blocks themselves, if it'll focus, I don't think you'll be able to see down there. Let's just grab a torch. There we go, I can just see it. So on the right hand side there's a drilling there. So the tappet block is drilled, and that is actually the same for the others. So you'd expect, from the point of view of the positioning of the cam followers, then the hole on that side should line up with the hole in the followers, and the idea being then that in addition to oiling the followers in the tappet block, you also get oil forced down the centre of the cam follower onto the cam lobes and stellite tip of the follower, which would make sense then for plenty of lubrication. But how is oil fed to the tappet blocks? Well, looking at this, it's you can't tell because it doesn't appear to have been drilled. These small holes here are the drains from the head for the oil that collects around the valve spring cavities. But if you look at the exhaust tappet blocks, which is where the pipes from the main bearing time feed comes in, allegedly through the cylinder base flange, you can see there's casting marks identifying where these would have been drilled. Presumably the hole from the pipe come up through the flange here and then drilled through here at an angle over to each tappet block on the exhaust side, and then these holes are where the flange would have been drilled all the way through to the other tappet block. So this hasn't been drilled, so this isn't getting an oil feed from the timed main bearing feed. And just to confirm that, if we put a new oil stock gasket in, you can see it's cut where there would have been holes for the oil feed. Now if we confirm that by looking at the engine itself, take that baffle out of the way, you can see that the pipes are there, but they've been cut and either crimped off or they've been sort of reformed into a spray tube, if you like, to go onto the cam lobes. Same on the other side down there. And but originally these pipes would have wound their way underneath the cam there and actually fixed to the underside of these two holes. You can see the crank case has been drilled for the feed, but obviously the opposite flange on the barrels, that as we've just seen, haven't been. So whether this has been modified or whether that was a sort of a halfway house, then I'm not sure. But anyway, all seems to be working all right, so we'll leave it as is. Now there is just one more piece in the jigsaw to explain the puzzle. So let's get back in the house and I'll show you something that I've managed to dig out. So I was lucky enough some years ago to be in a position to come across and buy almost a complete set of BSA Service Bulletins from the US from 1971, and I've just began scanning these, and near the top, damn me, Tappet oil supply. This is from the 25th of October 71, basically stating that they acknowledge there's an issue with tappet block O-rings degenerating, causing oil leaks at the front of the barrel that look like pushrod tube seals going, but it's not. And the way to deal with this is that timed feed is not required. So cut off the tube, crimp it, block it off, and it also advises to solder it up as well. And that's it. So there's the conundrum probably explained, and whether, you know, my engine, which was built in January 71, was a bit of a halfway house, i.e. whether those are spray tubes or just an attempt to crimp as per this, although, you know, it's not been done properly as per the service bulletin on mine, then who knows. But anyway, we don't need to worry about it, and hopefully, you know, this bit of information will help others that are trying to determine, you know, what the situation is with respect to the models as they progressed, and whether or not. So back to the garage to you know, just to make a few more observations. So the service bulletin was a fixed, or described a fix, to actually try and prevent oil leaks from the tappet blocks. However, obviously it doesn't explain anything about the lack of necessity of having to have that oil feed anymore. And in discussing this with Matt and other Trident Rocket 3 Owners Club members, having a look on certain forums, etc., then I think the story is that oil feed was obviously placed there for a reason, to ensure there was sufficient oil to prevent the cam followers seizing, but also to minimise wear between the follower faces and the cam lobes. And I understand that it was thought later on in the engine's development that because of the I think advancements in material, i.e. stellite tips for the cam followers, and because there was sufficient oil being splashed around the crankcase to cover the followers and the cams, then ultimately the timed pressure feed to the tappet blocks was deemed overkill and unnecessary. So I think that's the whole story then. And in fact, the reason why I hadn't picked this up years and years ago when I rebuilt a T160 engine from the ground up is that the T160s didn't have any vestigial parts from the timed feed. Nothing was there. They just had standard main bearing caps, and so I've never come across this before. So there we are. Hopefully that explains it by way of sort of a little service tip. I'm going to keep this as is. I'll keep those vestigial tubes in there. If they are sprayed tubes, I'll just make sure they're lined up so at least they're spraying onto the exhaust cam lobes, although it's not necessary. And we'll leave it at that, and hopefully if anybody's been frowning over this in the past or in the future, maybe that'll provide some insight and maybe a bit of guidance from what I've learnt with this. So that's all for now. Next job is crack on with building this up, which will be part 5, and we'll take it from there. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. Thanks as usual for comments and interest. Any comments on this or experiences, observations, feel free, and we'll have a dialogue about it for the benefit of the community, and we'll leave it at that. Cheers, everybody. Bye bye.